Welcome to Silver Silk Spice. I'm going to be making some scented paste beads using the scented paste I made in an earlier episode, but I thought I'd share with you some examples of scented paste used in jewellery across North Africa. The first piece is from Morocco. This is a hair ornament from the 8 Aka tribe, and here they've used the scented paste by pushing it into the piece of silver jewellery. And this piece must be at least 50 years old, and the scented paste is still there. This is another piece of Moroccan jewellery. Here the scented paste has been used by pushing it into the cones. Now this is a hair ornament. This ring has been filled with scented paste. Now this is from, I think, Haratine people. And the final piece from Morocco has scented paste not only used for its scent, but also to hold the earring form secure. Moving on to Tunisia. This is a typical tourist piece. Now, I think these were starting to be made in the 1920s when they first opened up to tourism as we know it today. And this Hamza shape is a protective talisman. It represents the hand of Fatima. And this example has been used has been created using a mould, as have these lozenge shapes. This is another Tunisian piece, but this wasn't created for the tourist market. This would have been worn by a Tunisian lady, and here the protective Hamza has been formed by hand, and you can almost feel the fingertips that were used to create it. And the top surface has been moulded by a press or a mould. And then the other elements here have been made by hand. So there's a fish head. And this bead here would have been made by forming a round ball and incising it to create this kind of segmented bead shape. And here a simple stylized heart or triangular shape, also made completely by hand. And this is rather a grand example. We've got silver filigree beads that have been gilded. And here, this is a pelter or a shield shape. And this has been formed by pressing it into a mould, both top and bottom. And this pelter shape has been echoed in these silver gilt beads here, as have the lozenge shapes with these beads here. Now these are also moulded in a mould. This is the last piece I have from Tunisia, and again, this is a tourist piece. It's got very sweet little fish elements here, and they've been moulded. And here is another pelter shape, again created in a mould, but these examples have been made by hand, very similar to the others I showed you earlier. The final piece comes from Algeria, and this is a modern example. And here they've got these tiny beads that have been formed entirely using the fingertips to create them, and I'll show you how to do that later. It's quite a substantial piece. And these would have been worn by brides. Scented paste was considered potent stuff, so unmarried women wouldn't wear it. So I'm going to talk about some of the tools that I'm going to be using when making the scented paste beads. First off, I'll show you a mould that I created. I created it from this bead, a heart-shaped bead, and it's a two-part mould, and I will push the scented paste in there and press it down with this section here. There's the hand of Fatima, and I've used that to create this mould, again two-part mould. And I've carved a wax heart here, basically a larger version of this, and I've created a mould from that, and I'll be pushing down this as the top part of the mould. My final mould is another Hamza. This I've created using a silver piece of jewellery that's pierced to create these patterns. Now, a very important ingredient, this is badger balm, and I use this to on my hands to keep them moisturised so that the scented paste doesn't stick to them, and I also apply it to the inside of the moulds here so that when I want to release the paste from the mould, it doesn't stick to it. These are my skewers. These are actually welding rods. I use them in glass lamp working, where we call them mandrels, to create the whole of the bead. But you could use wooden skewers perhaps, or a long needle, or a knitting needle. Spoon for getting the scented paste out of the box, and a knife for creating patterns. This is some of the scented paste I created earlier, and I've used just some greaseproof paper to work upon, and I've got a box here for any bits that fly off whilst I'm making the bead. So first things first, let's apply some of this badger balm, firstly to my hands so that the beads don't stick. There we go. And then I need to coat the inside of this mould. When I first started making these moulds, I figured that it would help if I had a groove there where the mandrel goes, but actually it doesn't work very well. So the next set of moulds I make, I'll be making them without that groove. So there we go. Let's get some paste. It can be difficult working out how much paste you need. In fact, that's going to be too much for that bead. I reckon about that. And roll it together, and what I want it to be is a smooth ball. I don't want it to separate, so I don't want any I don't want that kind of thing going on because the bead might crack, so I want it all smooth when it goes into the mould. Let's see, that's good enough. And yeah, that's too much still. Just take a pinch away. There we go. There. I'm going to just press it into the mould. And because this is a two-part mould, I want to move the paste away from the edges to avoid flashing. It doesn't matter if it's slightly domed. There we go. And there I have the second part of the mould, and it's important to line them up. So there we go. There it is. And I'm going to apply a kind of a rolling circular motion and press down like that, and hopefully I'll get a good imprint. You can see there. And then I need to leave this to dry for a good half hour to an hour, and that will allow this top part to dry, which makes it easier to demould. So I'm going to make another bead. Let's grab some more scented paste, and again I want to roll it to remove any creases. Hopefully this will be enough. And again I'm pushing it into the mould. And because this one is a bit more complicated, I want to make sure it's been pushed into all of the nooks in the mould. There we go. And I'm going to use this to print. So need to line this one up. This one lines up quite easily. And again I'm going to use a circular motion to press that bead into shape. Let's see if it's worked. The reveal, there we go. Make out the fingertips there. And let's make another. Actually, I might need a bit more than that. Always pick up bits as I go. There we are, nice ball shape. Oh, way too much. There we go. I'm going to push that in there. Making sure it goes everywhere. Take a bit off. And take your time. There's no need to rush it. You want to make sure that each bead is properly formed. There we go. And just take it away from the edge again to prevent that flashing. Now you can of course leave the back smooth if you wanted to, as in the early example I showed you of the Hamza. But I am going to create the pattern on the back. Let's see if I can get this lined up. There we go, and again I'm going to press gently. Let's see if this comes away. It does. You can see the pattern there. I think it's a floral design. There we are. And finally, the large Hamza. This is going to take quite a bit of paste. Don't know if this will be enough. Maybe a bit more. Oops. There we go. Let's pick up these little pieces. That there, and again push it in to the mould. Now this mould isn't very deep, so I like to add a bit of thickness to it. It makes it easier to thread the skewer on. So I'm raising it up just a little bit there so I can create some thickness. And again, I could leave that plain on the back like that. But I'm going to use this to imprint a pattern on the back. And of course I've covered this in the hand balm. There we go. Another circular motion. And the reveal. There we go. Hopefully you can see that pattern there. Now I need to wait half an hour to an hour for these to dry, and then I'll show you how to get them out of the mould. Whilst waiting for my moulded beads to cure a bit, I'll show you how to make some hand form beads. I'm going to take a tiny piece of this paste. I'm going to make it into a ball shape, and I'm going to show you how to make the little triangular beads on that Algerian piece. And it's very simple. You just use your 2 fingertips and create a kind of a triangular shape. Try and get it as pyramid shaped as you can. You want it to be fairly even, like that, and that is it. I'll do another one. Whoop. There we go. See if we can make it even tinier. There we are. It is that simple. Next I'll make a round bead. Hopefully I've got enough badger balm on my hands to stop it sticking. Oh no, I haven't. So I need to clean my hands, and I'll be back shortly. And I'm back. I have my hands coated in badger balm, and I'm going to take my ball of paste and roll it, and hopefully, yes, it's not splitting apart. That's good. I'm going to take the knife and I'm going to create some lines in it to make segments, a bit like an orange. So I think I'll try and do this lightly to begin with. The idea is to line up the line like that, and there we go. So it kind of looks like a seed pod at the moment, and then you can dissect each quadrant like that and like that. There we go. And then I can accentuate each of those segments a bit more by using the knife. And the bead I'm trying to make will be a copy of an example I showed you earlier. This is the last one. There we go. So need to let it dry, and then we can thread that on a needle. I might just make it a bit more pronounced. Take your time. There is no rush. There we go. So we're back about an hour later, And just to check on how the beads are drying out, as you see, the moulds can pull away easily from the sides. So I'm going to start demoulding these beads. I'll start off with this one. Oop, there we go. That one's now out. And what I'll do is I'll also tidy it up a bit. Now you can use your knife to chop off any excess at this stage. And you can also use the knife to smooth down the sides. I'm going to smooth that down there, take off that little piece. There we go. That's it. I'll just leave that over there to dry. Let's do the Hamza. Yeah, let's see if we can demould that one. Now this mould I made using a two-part putty, and it's a lot more rigid than my other silicone moulds, so it can be sometimes difficult to get the pieces out. This is why it's essential to use plenty of the badger balm to coat. I'll come back to that one. To coat the moulds with. That one's, so this is a silicone mould, and hopefully this will be easier to demould. Oops, it's coming. There we go. Okay, and that's the wet side. You can see the pattern there is quite pronounced, so that's good. This one, actually, which side is the, I think that is the, yeah, that's the soft side, so that needs to dry. This is the big Hamza. Oh yeah, and that's definitely ready to come out. There we go. Let's just tidy that bit there. And again, hopefully you can see the detail on that. Pop that one there to dry. You can just pat them down a little bit to keep them flat. Let's come back to this one now. See if I can get this one out. It's going to be awkward. Right. Oop. Maybe it needs leaving for a little bit longer. I'll leave that for longer, I think. But in the meantime, let's pierce some of the beads we made earlier. They're still soft, but they're rigid enough to be threaded onto the bead. So what I'm aiming to do is to go straight through the bead and through the other end. Just try and line it up. There we go. There's that one. It's going to slide off. I'll put that aside there to dry then. And then these little triangular ones. So I'm going to start piercing in the centre of the triangle, and I'm aiming to come out of the top of the point. So try and line it up so it comes out at the right place. There we go. There's that. Let's do the other one. Which one is the best side? I think actually it is that. So this one's a teeny bead. So yeah, now all these little pieces I'll save. They can be ground down and recycled into the next batch of scented paste I make, so there's very little waste which is just as well because the ingredients can be quite costly. Let's see. Now, will you come out? No. So let's see if we can get this bead out of the mould. Yay. Just took a little bit longer. And I'll tidy that end there, which I might need to file it down. Once it's dry, you can then file it down. You could use sandpaper or even a metal file if you've got a fine one. There we go, we'll let that dry. Now let's try to pierce some of these beads. Okay, so I'm going to go in this end here. And there. And I need to take this very slowly. What I'm wanting to do is to come out this end right in the middle. So to do that, I need to kind of line it all up bit by bit. And I can make adjustments in the middle, but it's best to not have to. So I'm just going to swivel the bead around as I pierce it, just so I can make sure that everything is lined up. There we go, it's coming out of the end, like that. And I'll put that aside to dry. And let's do another one. Again, I start in the middle. Let's do this gradually. Oh, I need to make an adjustment there. And another one there. Just to line it all up. There we go. Right, now this Hamza is going to be the most difficult as it's the longest piece. I just need to make sure I've got it in the middle. No, I haven't there. That's the middle. Okay. Push in a little way. Oh no, it's moved off centre. There we go. There we are. Right. And again, bit by bit. There we go. There's that one pierced, so let's pop that away to dry as well. Now, depending on the heat, it can take a couple of days to dry, up to a week or so. Here in the UK, well, it's usually a good couple of days if in the summertime, or I leave it a week or so in the winter. And that is that.